about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So how was everybody's July 4th? Mine was a pretty good weekend. Had a couple burns, as we predicted, because of fireworks and cookouts and things like that. Mufflers seem to really also seem to get people as well. As I worked most of it, but I did get to, we went with some friends of ours to dinner, saw some of the fireworks at one of the local casinos. And usually I go to a parking garage so I could see the whole city, but this time we decided to just stay on the ground, and it was nice. It was really nice. And I really liked seeing everybody in red, white, and blue shirts, American flags everywhere. There was a parade where people would dress up little golf carts or their bikes. It was really cool. Seeing the patriotism, very cool. I mean, we are going into America's 250th year. Most democracies don't live that long. As we've spoken about, many democracies fall apart because you have a government that decides to take over, or you have people get complacent. They then become dependent on the government. Now they need the government for handouts, and then, there's revolution. And so there's a cycle, which we spoke about. I think it was a Scottish professor back in the 1800s had predicted that most democracies don't last that long. So for our democracy to last as long as it has, this is very, very cool. And so for those of us saying stars and stripes forever, baby, I love America, I love 4th of July, good for you. This is the time, we express our enjoyment and our gratitude towards the people that fought for our freedom and continue to fight for our freedom. Well, Jason Kelce, 37-year-old ex-Philly NFL player, also took to social media. He wrote, "Man, I love the 4th. One of the great days we could all set aside our differences in this country and enjoy the one thing we all share in common, that we are American. Cheers to you, oh beautiful America." And he posted that on Instagram. Really cool. Instead, he received backlash. People ripped on him. People said, set aside differences. One party wants to feed children. The other wants to feed brown people to alligators. That's what one person wrote. Apparently, with the backlash of the big, beautiful bill that some people are unhappy about, other people love, they go after him for wanting to celebrate 4th of July. He said, "Unfortunately, Jason, this is not real life for many. They signed the worst bill for so many Americans today just to rub it in our faces. I know it's hard to understand, but so many will suffer." Another user said he was tone deaf. Okay, another one wrote, "There's nothing beautiful about this country right now." Okay, I don't know if you've seen other countries and you know what's happening to other people. Where in Gaza they can't be gay, or people are worried that their houses are going to be bombed, or Iran's going to throw a nuke at them, where women are suppressed and not able to go to school, like in Afghanistan. Rapes, murders, kidnappings, trafficking. Now, sadly, we have crime here in America, but the average person can walk into a Walmart wearing their pajamas. The average person has access to social media. The average person in America does not have to strap on a military vest and gun to protect themselves because Russia's invading them or another country's invading them. And if anybody isn't grateful that they live in America, they should really move the hell out. Because you're going to find it's not as easy as you think in other countries. We have so many more freedoms. We still need work to do, but way better than other countries. And so you're going to see this movement over the next year to try to cancel people who are pro-America. And that is one of the starts of the dissolution of our democracy and civil war. People are so split. We're going to be talking about some of the criticisms people have of the bill. And, it's they're wrong. Yeah, I mean, I understand. When you write a big bill, there's going to be stuff in there that I had to please other senators and congresspeople, which I don't like. I like single item bills. I really don't like one big bill because there'll always be something wrong with it, and that could overshadow some of the good. But there are things that we needed to do, like the tax cuts. We needed to save Medicaid. We needed to stop taxing Social Security recipients. There's a lot of good in this. And so, if Jason Kelsey wants to celebrate America, leave him the hell alone. But you know what? Maybe this problem will work itself out. You see these, look at that we opened last hour with that Texas pediatrician. Saying that MAGA supporters got what they deserved with the deadly floodings killing kids and people. Really? Who do they think they think they're preaching to the choir? They think they have people that think like they do. And this doctor, a pediatrician, she, now the delete was removed. The post was deleted, but she got fired because the pediatric firm. I mean, the backlash. Really, you're going to be reveling in kids dying because you are so mad at Republicans? It's disgusting. And people made politics their religion. It shouldn't be so into our lives, but the hate people have for Trump and the love people have for Trump is really dividing the country. But we should not be divided on 4th of July weekend. We're all Americans, and if we can't even unite, this country's in trouble. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So we have known for years that we're in trouble as it pertains to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're running out of funds. We have too many people relying on it that maybe don't need to rely on it. And when Medicaid got expanded during the Great Recession, it should have sunsetted, and it didn't. And unfortunately, more and more people are relying on the government dime. And when the government dime runs out, or there's not enough of it, what happens? So in order to save Social Security, in order to save Medicare, in order to save Medicaid, we need to figure out where the money's going. Is there waste, fraud, and abuse? And what we need to do to tighten up the spending so that we have money for the people who really need it. So in the big, beautiful bill, they look at our Medicaid, our Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and they look at ways to enhance it or to ensure that there's going to be a proper way to give the people what they need who really need it. Now, SNAP, I guess, was born October 1, 2008. Food stamps existed back in the 30s, but the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program was relatively new. It provides monthly payments for food purchases to low-income residents earning less than $1,600 a month or $3,400 monthly for a household of four. It is supposed to supplement the nutrition. We used to actually give out foods like chicken, egg through WIC, eggs, fish, so we knew that the families were getting the food. But it turned into a debit card where you could use that money, hundreds of dollars a month, to feed your family. Well, what's been happening is some individuals, not everybody, is buying junk food, processed food, crap. And the kids aren't getting healthier. They're getting worse. Food stamps, I guess, began in 1939. By 1979, they stopped you paying for food stamps. You didn't have to purchase food stamps. I think food stamps got its origination where, remember, we had, I have some of these in my antique closet. You would have war stamps where you could use it for sugar. You would purchase these, and this allowed you to get sugar and bread, but it rationed it. And so the idea of paying for food stamps, where you would buy food stamps for very cheap, got eliminated in 1979. There was a federal law saying, no, they're going to be free. Well, 42 million people received SNAP benefits in March. 42 million people, that's 1 in 8. You're telling us that 12% of our country is starving. We're the richest country in the world. Why do we have an eighth of our population needing SNAP benefits? Now, the 42 million people on SNAP is a little lower than the way where we were in 2013 during the Great Recession. Although if you look at Google and Wikipedia, they say the Great Recession ended by 2009, the day Obama went into office. Really? We had the higher number of SNAP users by 2013. That was 47.6 million, but currently 42 million. Now, the average monthly benefit is about $350. Multiple states, though, are now excluding soda, candy, and the Trump administration has approved that SNAP be limited to healthier food. Now, $350 is not a lot to feed a family. But if it's for healthy food, that could still help a lot. So we want individuals that can't work to be able to have this access. Yet it costs billions upon billions of dollars. So one thing they did is they expanded work requirements. So what are the work requirements that everybody's getting their panties up in a bunch for? Well, if you're 18 years old through 54 years old and are physically and mentally able to work and have no dependents, you need to work or volunteer or be in school or training for at least 80 hours a month, which is 20 hours a week. Is that really all that bad? If you are over 18, between 18 and 54, and you can work, why aren't you working? What are you doing? And again, you can't say, well, they're sick. Remember, these are people not sick. Go back to school. Volunteer. But you got to do something 20 hours a week. Legislation expands work requirements for those 54 through 64 and for parents without children younger than 14. It repeals work exemptions if you're homeless, veterans, or young adults aging out of foster care. They say, according to WTOP, states could continue to seek federal waivers from SNAP work requirements in areas with unemployment over 10%, but the bill eliminates a more flexible exemption for areas without sufficient jobs. If there's unemployment and there's no jobs, you could still volunteer. But you got to get out of the house. If you're stuck watching Netflix at home, that's unhealthy. We need to make you healthier. Get out of the house and do stuff. The federal government currently splits the administrative costs of SNAP with states, but covers the full cost of food benefits. Under the legislation, states would have to cover 3/4 of the administrative costs starting in the 2027 federal fiscal year. Why not? Why not have states pay more? Some states would also have to pay a portion of the food benefits starting in 2028. The federal government would fully fund SNAP benefits only for states that make mistakes, it says, and fewer than 6% of their payments to people. So, meaning they're trying to, according to WTOP, stop the waste, fraud, and abuse. Only 7 states, Idaho, Nebraska, South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, Wisconsin, and Wyoming, had less than 6% mistakes in SNAP benefits. Wow. Which means there's waste, fraud, and abuse in all the other states. Nationwide, 11% of SNAP payments had errors. So in 2028, states with error rates greater than 6% will have to cover between 5 and 50% of the cost of SNAP benefits. This isn't that wrong. Why not? States have to get their acts together. Those with higher error rates generally must pay more. But a state amendment delays the cost share implementation to late 2030 for states with the highest mistake rates. Why are we making mistakes? So, I like states being more involved. I'm really a fan of states' rights. States know what their constituents need. So let them be involved more. They're getting a bunch of taxes. I live in Southern Nevada. The big question teachers are asking me is, where is the marijuana money? We legalized marijuana. We closed down dentist's office during COVID when we keep the marijuana dispensaries open. The tax revenue should be huge. It was promised a good portion was going to schools, and we're being told, nope. The states are bringing in money. Where's the money going? So, they should be able to help their constituents. They'll also do a better job of making sure there's less waste, fraud, and abuse. Look at how even Governor Newsom found that the PPP, the payment protection plan, or the COVID related funds, as well as unemployment, was abused, and is now looking at that deeper. So I like the idea of states getting involved, and I like the ideas of work requirements for people who are over 18 with no kids who can work. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So apparently a 3-judge appellate panel has ruled that a transgender teacher cannot use she, her pronouns in the classroom. Now, she teaches in Florida. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals made the 2-1 decision in accordance with Florida's don't say, well, it's not called a don't say gay law. I can't stand that the media, that was coined. I think it was a law saying they didn't want sex ed taught in children under 8 years old. But in accordance with that law, the majority claiming that the plaintiff high school algebra teacher, Katie Wood, hasn't shown a substantial likelihood that the law violates her right to free speech. So the opinion was written in U.S. Circuit Judge Kevin Newsom, signed off. There's a Kevin Newsom. I wonder if he's related. Signed off by Judge Andrew Brasher, both of whom were appointed by the current president, and it overturns a preliminary injunction issued by a Barack Obama appointee, Judge Mark Walker, that remands the case back to the district court. So the decision asserted that a teacher's right to speak is not without limits because as public employees, they speak on part in behalf of the government. The decision said the teacher cannot show that she was speaking as a private citizen rather than a government employee. So this is a question of if you are working for a public institution and you identify as a male or female or another gender or another race or another, are you allowed to? Or as a public employee, do you have to follow your biological sex? Apparently, the teacher sued the state after Florida's bill HB 1069 states, quote, an employee or contractor of a public K-12 educational institution may not provide to a student his or her preferred personal titles or pronouns if such preferred personal title pronouns do not correspond to his or her sex. Violations of the law are punishable by termination and even suspension or revocation of a teaching certificate. So I know people are really mixed on this, saying if somebody wants to identify as male, let them identify as male. If somebody wants to, identify as female, let them do that. It's their personal choice. The issue, though, however, and this is why Title IX keeps being brought up, is the safe spaces and the bathrooms and the locker rooms. If a teacher who's male, biologically male, identifies as female and then wants to walk with the young girl into the girl's bathroom, parents will sue as the day is long. Whether the person is a real, true transgender who's going to be very innocent in the girl's bathroom, or if they are a predator. So as much as I want to say the issue is very simple, just identify however you want to identify, or identify who your biological sex is. It's very nuanced. And so, I have family members who are LGBTQAI+, and, I respect their decisions. I respect who they are. But there are certain situations where other people have the right to know who is behind the dress. And it's a shame because most men are not rapists. But the majority of rapes happen by men. And they happen by men in areas that are supposed to be safe for girls. And so this keeps being brought up. So here's a teacher. People are like, why do people care? Why can't a teacher change their name? Why can't a teacher be called Lucy? Why can't? Because it all goes back to, where are they going to go to the bathroom? Where are they going to change? Where are they? Those Title IX prohibits young girls being exposed to male penises. Now, that's not a common occurrence, but a school, as I said, is damned if they do, damned if they don't. And so here we are with society, and it's interesting because people from other countries have asked me, I don't understand, you guys don't know what's boy or girl anymore? How come people don't know if they're a boy or girl anymore? We look like we're really struggling when it's not a very common occurrence. It's just we have in society over the last few years said, look, if you don't want to be female, if you don't want to be male, if you don't want to be white, if you don't want to be black, if you don't want to be Asian, you could identify as whoever you want to be. Now, as it pertains to gender, that went viral. Still, society and laws are not going to allow you to identify as African American or black or Jewish or white or Asian, or still they don't. Yeah, and it's tricky because we're having kids identify as cats, and we're hearing stories of litter boxes where a child thinks they're a cat. When do we get the psychiatrist involved? So anybody who has a concern and a dislike for who they are, whether it's body dysmorphic disorder, whether it's somebody pulling out their hair and eyelashes, whether it's somebody who is trying to crawl out of their body because they don't want to be in a body with a penis or a vagina, they need support. And we need to figure out what it is. But somebody wanting to be somebody else and impersonate another gender, another person, currently there's laws because society doesn't know how to handle that. I would love to identify as Margot Robbie. It kills me that I don't have a body or a look like Margot Robbie, but I'm not allowed to impersonate her. I'm not allowed to identify as her. I could legally change my name if I wanted to, but I'm not going to get roles. I'm not going to get, yeah. So I feel bad. There's a very small population who wakes up every morning scratching at their body, struggling that they're in the wrong body. And these people, they need support. They need help. But now we have a situation where people will identify as whoever they want to identify as. What do we do then with the safe spaces? And as I've said before, I don't fear a transgender female, a male who is truly transgender that wants to be a female. I fear the people lying. And if you are in a women's bathroom, you're very vulnerable because you don't have other men or your man who could protect you. And if you are in an area where somebody is pretending, see, the red flags is, what are you doing in the female bathroom? It already looks odd. A man walking into a female bathroom is already a red flag. Security should be alerted. That's usually ominous until proven otherwise. But now that we have this concept of, but no, if you're transgender, it's okay, how is a victim supposed to know? And we have had cases of victims of people faking transgenderism. So until we stop all assaults or rapes, you have to have laws protecting vulnerable populations. And so, people always ask me, what about kids being confused? They're learning about boy or girl. Do kids need to know the concept of boy or girl? Well, they do, because they need to know who they are. They need to identify, and they need to understand that individuals may have different body parts. So you can't not teach kids what a boy or girl is. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So years ago, I talked about how Americans may want or may soon start a new party. That's the Common Sense Party. I wrote about it a few years ago. I'll try to find the video and repost it. Where my worry is if they don't like what Republicans are doing or Democrats are doing, there's a lot of common sense, bipartisan issues that a lot of people agree upon, and that we might eventually see a third party. Well, I'm not the first person to have guessed that this might happen eventually. I think, they've been talking about this for years. That's not a new idea. But Elon Musk is getting a little closer to making that happen. And I don't know if it's a wise decision or not. Especially since his party is really already close to the Republican Party. And so do you really want to split the votes? So apparently this America Party is what Elon Musk is promoting, where it'll be pro-Second Amendment, pro-Bitcoin. Musk said, according to Fox News, the Second Amendment is sacred. Firearm owners would like to know about the party's position on guns and that the party will embrace Bitcoin. The party will also stand for free speech and reduced regulations. So that's kind of libertarian already. Post X decided to, or on X, somebody decided to post, is the American Party platform reduce debt, responsible spending only, modernize military with AI robotics, pro-tech, accelerate to win in AI, less regulation across the board, but especially in energy, free speech, pro-natalist, and centrist policies everywhere else. And Musk said yes. Now, already that is looking a lot like what Trump is doing, but Elon Musk and now Trump are kind of not getting along. So I'm not sure where something like this will go. But many people are frustrated that the political landscape is Republican and Democrat. You know, I'm nonpartisan. I agree with a lot of conservative views as well as socially moderate views. And I think there are some things that the Democrats stand for and some things that the Republicans stand for are good. I'm very moderate, but I'm very fiscally conservative. And I'm for what makes sense. I don't know, though, if that's necessarily, a whole new party. I would love to see, Republicans and Democrats leave the fringes and become more, common sense. Maybe that's what America Party is. Maybe it's not. But according to Musk, he said, when it comes to bankruptcy or a country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Today, the American Party is formed to give you back your freedom. Backing a candidate for president is not out of the question, but the focus for the next 12 months is on the House and the Senate. So, Elon Musk, I know, got his itch scratched when he got to be in the White House and be a part of politics. He likes that. In fact, we saw him there every day. He has Tesla. He has SpaceX. He knows what he's doing as it pertains to countries or companies and making sure that, a company is being successful. I mean, one of the reasons why Trump won is he knew how to run businesses and he knew how to make deals. It's a very fascinating Trump presidency. And he's getting a lot done. But we spend a lot. And Elon Musk was mad at the big, beautiful bill because of the spending. Well, if we don't have enough money for the border, because Biden wouldn't allow that, and we need more money for the border, the money has to come from somewhere. We have to secure the border. We have more people relying on the government, and it looks like the bill started to cut that. If you are able-bodied, what the hell are you doing getting the government dime? You have no kids. You're over 18. You're not sick. Get to work. So, I would look at this as, he wants to mess with Trump, but I think he really likes politics. He'll never be president because he wasn't born in the United States, and the Constitution stands firm. But what I like about what Elon Musk is doing is bring up bipartisan or nonpartisan issues that everybody agrees on. And I've brought this up so many times on my show. The average person does not want tax dollars going to abortions. The average person doesn't want to see 1 million women struggle with making a decision to end the fetus's life. Yet we're paying for free birth control through Obamacare. How can we make this better so we don't have 1 million women struggle with the decision, 1 million fetuses aborted, and we don't have taxpayers paying for this? How do we prevent Social Security from going under and Medicare from going under when people who work their whole lives for that to be there deserve it. Where is the spending? Where's the waste, fraud, and abuse? Why did we have people on the Social Security rolls that were dead for hundreds of years? You know, there's a lot of asinine things happening with the government, and your government shouldn't be your weakest link. Your government should be your barometer of how things are done right. But right now, people don't respect the government. They think the government is wrong. They think the CDC is politically motivated. They think that the government is going to be making decisions for your health based on a pharmaceutical lobby and not allowing people to talk about the pros and cons. They think that, doctors, for Biden are either going to be coerced or blackmailed or stupid. People are not trusting the government. Look at what happened with FEMA, with the hurricanes, where FEMA said, don't go to houses with a Trump sign. They may be violent towards you. Have you ever seen a flood survivor walking out of a house being violent to somebody who's helping them while they're wearing a MAGA hat? Are you kidding me? We need to get faith in our government back. This is why people don't vote. They're like, who am I voting for? Who do I trust? Now, Trump got votes. But, something's got to give and something has to be fixed. And here we are in our 250th year, which I'm really excited about. I'm so excited. And I'm grateful. But we are so divided. People like Jason Kelsey can't even celebrate 4th of July without people being on them. I love that we have freedom of speech, but we have a lot of anti-American sentiment here. And if you really hate other Americans who are celebrating 4th of July, maybe you're in the wrong country. Take that hate elsewhere. You might not like what the Biden administration did or the Trump administration did, but you are supposed to love your fellow Americans. You're supposed to thank and honor your military. But that's not what's happening. People are hating each other. And, Bitcoin, I did invest in some Bitcoin. Now that I see other countries are going to, as the value of the dollar changes and people are really surrendering to tech, invisible money is going to be a big thing. I don't trust it yet, but do we need, though, a whole political party for that? 1-877-Daliah, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.